Guess what? Emotions are just as natural as breathing. They're supposed to happen. If you grew up being told to suck it up, shove it down, be a man, if you were ever punished for having emotions, then this one's for you. Hello and welcome back to Torches, Yoga, and Mindfulness. I'm Lauren and I'll be your coach. Today we're going to talk about the real healing of our difficult emotions. If someone ever told you that your feelings were too much, they weren't okay, or they didn't matter, first and foremost, let me say, I am so sorry you weren't heard back then. Having emotions doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you less of a person, certainly not less of a man, and it doesn't make you a burden on anyone else. In fact, it is 100% natural, normal, and healthy for us to experience any emotion that may arise in our lives. But when we are taught that our emotions aren't acceptable, it's no wonder we aren't taught how to properly and safely process them. But it's never too late to learn, and I'm here to help. Before we get into the how, let's talk about the why. Why do we need to process our emotions? Unprocessed emotions don't just go away. They settle themselves deep within us, deep in our organs, and deep in our tissue, waiting to be acknowledged. When we ignore them, sometimes for years, they build up until they become overwhelming and unbearable. When we continue to ignore these emotions and keep pushing them down and keep telling them they're not okay, they can cause inflammation in the body, increased blood pressure, heart disease, or heart attacks. They can also show up in our gut as IBS, acid reflux, and ulcers, while others may manifest themselves as chronic headaches, muscle tension, and sleep issues. Processing deep-seated emotions is a lot to take on. They could have been welling up for years, and I help people safely process through their emotions. While I do offer full sessions where we can meet either remotely or in person to work together through your hurt and through any past experiences you may be holding on to, I do also offer a 15-minute quick tip session. It's lighter on the wallet, but for that time, I can give you some tools that you can use to help you get through the tough stuff. More often than not, when we're dealing with hurt and angry feelings, we try to rationalize them away. Like if you were going for a job or a position and you didn't get it, do you tell yourself, I didn't like the place anyway, or it wasn't really a good fit? Or maybe you try to find reasons why your feelings don't make sense. While our intentions are good here, this is kind of like bringing a cup of water to a forest fire. You're not going to get very far. But with the right tools, we can help tame the blaze. Think about your emotions like this. When you touch something hot, you don't process it in your brain first. You feel it on your skin. Emotions are the same way. They're in our body. So that's where we're going to turn our attention to do the work for that healing. I always say we can't logic our way through emotions. Now, certainly we may use our logic to determine which emotion we're dealing with, but once we've made that determination, it's time for the brain to sit back while we sink into our bodies. Like other mindfulness techniques, this doesn't have to be some long and elaborate practice, but it is something you'll want to revisit a few times, especially when we're dealing with those deep down emotions that we've been stifling for years. I do have 4 steps for you that you can work through to process those emotions. When we're ready to process any old or even new hurts, first, we want to feel it in our body and see where it's showing up for us. So the first step is to do a body scan from your crown to your toes. When you think of the hurt or the memory, does a certain part of your body tense up? Do you feel sharp pains in your back? Does it feel like there's a bowling ball in your gut, or a tingling sensation or a pinching sensation showing up anywhere in your body? Notice where that feeling is holding on to. If you find any of these, this is where that feeling has its grip on you. This is where it's calling home and where we need to bring our attention to. With compassion, we're going to notice the hurt and acknowledge its pain, not judge it. Think of this pain, think of this feeling as if it's your best friend or a dear loved one. How would you treat them if they were hurting or in pain? Show your feeling the same compassion and acceptance you would your friend. Let it know you're here to support it, to hear it out, to help it. Here just to sit with it. And then, step number 3, we're going to let it grow. If there's tension, ask it. Do you need to get tighter? If it feels like there's a hand squeezing on your head or your heart or your chest, ask it, do you need to hold tighter? If there's a weight to it, ask it, do you need to sink deeper? If there's a heat to it, do you need to grow hotter? I promise you're strong enough to be able to take it. Allow it to take the space it needs. Allow it to move through your body as it needs to. And keep your focus on it by, in your head or out loud, describing how it feels or how it's moving. Now, if you're practicing this alone and the sensations or tensions don't ease off after about 10 or 15 minutes of sitting with it, which is totally normal, especially for deep-seated emotions, but if they're not beginning to lighten for you, just gently let the feeling know that you're still here for it. You'll come back to visit. You'll continue to work with it. But for now, you just need to step away. And then you can bring your focus back to your breath, taking deep breaths and feeling it moving through your body to help ease yourself out of that feeling. If you did notice a lightening, a release, a loosening of the grip, now's the time for us to move on to step number 4, and that's to let it go. Bring the memory back to your mind. You don't have to relive the experience, but just bring it up and see if the feeling that comes with it is just as intense, or if maybe it's loosened up or lightened up. Do another body scan from crown to toes and take notice of if the feeling shows up just as intensely, maybe in a different area, maybe just a little bit lighter than it was before. And keep in mind, you may not feel release after just one session of sitting with this feeling. And that's okay. But the next time you visit it, it'll be a little bit lighter and a little bit lighter each time after that. Eventually, the emotion will move through and out of your body, leaving space for healing. Through this practice, we allow our emotions to express themselves physically in our body so that they can move on and we can heal. When we allow our emotions to physically express themselves, they lose their grip on us. And then we don't allow our emotions to guide our actions. We don't act out of anger or hurt. For our bodies, we lower the risk of heart disease, boost our immune system. For our mental health, we can reduce depression and anxiety, build emotional resilience, and increase our self-awareness, leading us to personal growth. When our emotions are in check, we reduce the mental clutter, allowing us to be better decision makers by boosting our creativity. Without the buildup of emotions, we also experience healthier relationships with better communication and less conflict because we're less reactive, and more empathy, allowing us to see our partners with compassion. Now, this 4-step exercise isn't something you'll keep and pull out of your tool chest on a daily basis. It's not going to help in the heat of a moment in a stressful situation. But when we complement this practice with regular mindfulness techniques and practices throughout the rest of our life, it allows us to have that self-awareness. So when that stressful situation does arise, we have the wherewithal to realize we need to step back. We need to stop feeding into the stressful situation and process our emotions before we do or say something hurtful to ourselves or to others. Remember, friend, you don't have to do this alone. If you need support or guidance, I am here for you. I will leave you with one final tip today on processing your emotions, and that's to journal it. Journaling is a powerful tool for processing emotions and tracking your self-growth. It's not just about venting. It's about creating space to witness and accelerate your own healing. Make sure to check out our video from last week on the science behind why journaling is so impactful and how it benefits our brains. Thank you for joining me today. Give yourself a big hug for showing up today for yourself. You are absolutely amazing. Stay present, stay kind to yourself, and I'll see you soon.